Hey everyone, it's Patrick Henry. It is episode 10 of the Unbreakable Series.
Was sassy. That's why I relate.
It's just the end of my workout, and it is the last episode in the series. I'm going to take some time to reflect on what Daniel and I have managed to create over the past 10 episodes. I'm going to make sure that I'm delivering the sort of information that I want to deliver for you guys. You know, this is a pet project of mine. This is something that I really wanted to do to help other people. It's not something I particularly feel comfortable doing, being in front of the camera. So it's a learning curve for me. It's been putting myself in an uncomfortable position to see if I can improve on something, which I think Daniel and I both improved over these past 10 episodes. I feel certainly more comfortable now than I did at the beginning. At the beginning, it was really awkward. So I'm going to take some time, regroup, analyze the information that I've got, analyze the feedback that you guys have kindly been giving me, and then we'll see you again in the new year. Yeah, I think the gym and working out is a great way of humbling yourself. You know, as I do better in life and as I have more achievements, succeed more, earn more money, whatever else it is, it's very important to be reminded of your mortality, reminded that you can be broken. You're just like everyone else. You have your limits, you know. Although you can push those limits week in, week out, you can take that a little bit further, you still have those limits. You're not God. There are things that you can't overcome, and you are just like everyone else. It's very important to be reminded of that. I think the day that I lose my humility and lose my opinion to look at myself critically is the moment that I stop progressing and I become something that I definitely don't want to be. So anyone that knows me, that follows me on social media and wherever else I broadcast what I do on a daily basis, knows that I set myself goals on a weekly basis, annual basis, sometimes quarterly basis, like most companies do. But whenever I see people aiming to do something in the new year, to start something new in the new year, I always think to myself, why are you waiting? And if this year has taught us anything, it's things can change in a drop of a hat. You know, we were in lockdown, we were out of lockdown, we're half in, half out, we're in a tiered system, we're back in lockdown again. Scotland's out, Scotland's in, Wales is out, Wales is in, you know. Things can change so quickly. The only thing that you can really have control of is the here and the now, and your ability to affect the here and the now. You don't have a lot of say over what is to come, or you have no say over what is to come. Very few people do. So, and putting things off, planning for to start something in a month's time, to me, it's counterproductive. One, you're taking the time to plan something that might not actually ever take place because the setting could change completely. And two, because you're procrastinating. Why are you not taking the steps now? If I'm going to say to myself, I'm going to start an e-commerce business, it's the one business I really don't have, and it's the one business that would have thrived through the pandemic and the lockdowns that we had. E-commerce would have thrived. I'm going to start an e-commerce business. I'm not going to wait until January the 1st to start thinking about it. Why on earth would I do that? All of the things in the world can change by January the 1st. We could get a deal or no deal in Brexit. The deal that we could have could be completely opposite to the plans that I've got right now. Why would I wait? The only reason that you will wait for is if you are procrastinating or if you're nervous about starting. If you're nervous about starting, you probably shouldn't start at all. You should probably gain more knowledge, get confident. And that build-up process, that building up of knowledge is the thing that allows you to become confident. Take the first step, read the first book, watch the first YouTube video, do whatever it is to up your skill set to the point where you can start making those steps. Don't wait until some arbitrary time that someone decided was going to be January the 1st, thousands of years ago, just because the sun's set in a certain way, to start your new project. You start when you feel the inspiration to do so. So as we're entering 2021 from this clusterfuck of a 2020, I think I'd like to reflect on one of the things that I've learned, one of the biggest things that I've learned from 2020, and that is you have to be nimble, you have to be agile, you have to be able to adjust, to pivot, as people say in business. I've had to pivot every single one of my businesses. Every single thing I've done, I've had to change up. Even working out, which is not business related, but it's for my body and my soul, I've had to change that. I've had to work out differently. Exactly the same with businesses. This is exactly what we need to do. I can't be too proud and hold on to an idea just because it's something that I decided on a few months back. If the landscape changes, if things change around me, I have to change too. I have to be able to adapt. It doesn't mean my long-term goals have changed. You know, I'm still planning on doing certain things by the time I'm 40, 50, and if I'm lucky enough to make it to 60 with all my marbles still in my head, then great. I've got plans for them too. But it doesn't mean that I can't change course. You know, if there's a roadblock in the way, I'm not just going to wait there for the roadblock to clear up. I'm going to hit those side roads and then come back onto track at a later stage. And that's one of the biggest things that I've really had reinforced this year, is constantly looking at the surroundings, looking at the landscape and adapting, changing, not holding on to an idea. You don't know everything, you don't know what's coming. You have to be able to swallow your pride and change course. Fire away, Jess.
So basically, I've got some money, and then after speaking to a financial advisor, like my total would be about 225.
Yeah.
So down south, it's not really going to go very far. So then looking up north, obviously I don't know anywhere up north. So how would I even start the process of finding where to buy?
Okay.
For letting.
I think the first advice I always give people is know what you're buying. So it doesn't have to be necessarily know the exact property on the exact road in the exact town or whatever else, but having a grasp on location is very important. So if you imagine if you bought in SW12, so around Clapham South, for example, there's a big difference on the uplift in property prices between Clapham South and Tooting, 2 stops down. If you look year on year, for the past 3 or 4 years, Tooting's had more of an uplift than Clapham South. So it's important to know where you're buying, what's happening in that area, is the infrastructure changes. If I was personally going to invest in a property, it was going to be a long-term purchase, I'd be looking for somewhere where there's infrastructure changes. So if you imagine when Crossrail went in, wherever these new stations popped up, house prices jumped up because it meant that access to London was going to be so much quicker and just in general be a more desirable area because things are changing in there. Look at what happened in Croydon. As soon as they announced that Westfield Shopping Centre was coming in and Boris Johnson secured, I think it was £1 billion worth of investment, something like that, along those lines, the property prices just shot up. I've got friends in Croydon that happened.
Stable though, like will they stay up or will they come back down again, like once people have kind of got over the hype of
There we are.
build?
There's always a bubble. So it happened in Nine Elms. As soon as they announced that Battersea Power Station was going to be developed, 2 new tube lines were going to come in, prices around there just went crazy, absolutely insane. They went from being what you could buy a riverfront 2-bedroom apartment with a balcony for £600,000 to being worth over £1 million.
Okay.
But then it came down again. Once the hype was outlived, prices did come down. But if you look at what they were before and what they were when it's finished, exactly the same as one with Bitcoin when everyone got really excited about it 3 years ago. Oh, you got excited. Yeah. Everyone, that always happens. It goes up and then it calms down and once the hype's dead. So I would be interested in you looking at why you're buying in those areas, what you want from them, what's happening in those areas before committing to an area or a purchase.
So again, because this would be my second property technically, how does the stamp duty work?
Well, stamp duty is always changing. It's changed again this year, changed 3 years ago, and then a couple of times in the previous years before that. Right now, if you're buying a property and you already own another property, then you have to pay 3% stamp duty in the price range that you're talking about.
On top of what you would normally pay an extra 3%?
Yeah, I mean, there's no stamp duty below 500,000, generally speaking, at the moment. But you do have the 3% extra stamp duty regardless of that. So you're going to pay 3%. Unless you buy the property, you'd have to pay it regardless, but if you sell the property that you already own within 3 years of the new purchase, then you can get the 3% stamp duty refunded back. because it's just seen as a transitional purchase, I guess, is the way to see it.
So when it comes to mortgage, is it better to pay interest only and then take home more money a month, or pay repayment plus interest?
So that's a strategic question. So it really comes down to what you would prefer to have happen. Usually, if you're buying a property that you're wanting to live in and you've got a regular job and you just want to pay it off, say within 25, 30 years, by the time you get to 60, you want to know that your mortgage is paid off, then I'd say pay down your mortgage, do repayments, maybe even you get a bonus or something like that, maybe you want to pay another chunk off your mortgage, because that money that you've put into your property, you're also not paying interest on anymore. The mortgage lender will have guidelines as to how much you can pay off in a year, because obviously they're expecting a certain amount of interest to be paid back to them, otherwise they don't make money. So you have to look at those guidelines. Normally, I would only recommend doing an interest-only mortgage if you're planning on reinvesting the money. Some people rely on the money to come in on a monthly basis, then probably go interest-only because you want to maximise how much money you're getting back. If prices are going up in the area, if you think they're going to go up in the area, people don't worry as much about paying down the mortgage because it becomes less and less as a percentage value of the property. It just depends on your strategy. So your strategy might be, I'm going to pay off the mortgage, I'm going to pay down on the property that I've got because I want to own it outright, I want it to be comfortable. You may be thinking, well, actually I'm in a growing phase where I'm looking to invest more and more, so I want more money back that I can put in a pot and then put into the next investment.
That'll be your next deposit.
Exactly, so it comes down to strategy.
So when it actually comes down to finding a property, you've chosen your location, how do you actually know which is going to be the best buy-to-let investment? Because obviously you can see online how much you're buying it for, but when you then look at rental values, one place might be £600 and this very similar property 2 rows down might be 1,000, just saying. How do you gauge that in an area you don't know?
First of all, I'd be very careful buying an area I don't know. I would be careful of whose advice I take. Everybody's got different advice. If it was my mum, I would never have bought a property in my life. She puts the negative spin on absolutely everything. If you talk to the average estate agent, everything's perfect and great and wonderful, and in reality they've never bought a property in their lives. So you're taking advice from a novice that just is there to shine up as many rocks as they can find. The main thing is research. The main thing is doing your due diligence, is looking into as many properties as you can. Once you've picked an area and you've said, look, I want to be in this location because I believe they're building a new school in the area and that's going to be a big thing for the area, so I can see property prices rising, families moving into the area, and I want a nice family rental accommodation in that area. Once you've done that, then you can do more research. So you can look at which roads receive which level of rent. So some 2-bedroom properties on a busy road will receive 5% less rent than on the next road over, which is a quieter, more residential street. Looking into things like that, understanding who is in the area, so making sure you're approaching the right demographic is important. Getting people's advice is great. It's always good to have as many different people giving you their side of the story, but what it comes down to is what you actually want to get from it. Never try and fit somebody else's worldview into yours, especially with investments, because I'm not particularly risk adverse. You might be completely risk adverse, so taking my advice might screw with your head. 5 years time, if you've got a risky purchase on your hands, that could really affect you, whereas with me it's just so never risk. Oh well. Season 1 of the Unbreakable series, that is the end. We have done 10 episodes. Hopefully I've passed on quite a lot of information, knowledge. Hopefully I haven't made too many gaffes. Hopefully you guys have gained something from it. I would love to hear what you think, what you'd like to see next time around. We will be back in the new year, and I will be dragging Daniel out from his dungeon so that he can film some of the most beautiful shots that you've ever seen of a bald, overweight businessman. Thank you very much. Take care of yourselves, look after each other. See you in 2021.
Where's it gone?
God damn it. My biggest weapon is my team. It's the people I trust, the people that I can fall back on, the people that I know have got my back. millionaire lifestyle, baby, you can't get the packed lunch.
I'm doing this for the McLaren coffee shop. Nice. People like me come to shop for the chick. I'm still got your one at the back there. Is it? I'll catch you later, mate. Right, I'm doing this at the moment.
And so few people took advantage of it. So few people. You know, I would have killed for the opportunity back in the day to actually, it's a war moment. You know, a lot of people say this is our world war. We're not going to have another war in our time. Touch wood. And it's a chance for me to prove who I was and for other people to be exposed to what they really are. The biggest lessons that we can learn from lockdown when it comes to business is how much money are we spending that we really don't need to spend.